Very good morning to one and all. Warm welcome to Kochi. Sri Riyad Matthew, distinguished guests present here. Let me start off with Commodore Reddy, CMD GRC, Mr. Pradeep Jayaraman, CEO, Vizhinjam Port Private Limited, respected Sri Elias George, former chairman, Cochin Metro, Sri Sunil Paliwal, chairman of the Chennai Port Authority, Sri Kashi Viswanathan, chairman, Cochin Port Authority, respected Sri Philip Matthew of Malayalam Manorama, and the entire fraternity from the ports, shipping, and the shipbuilding sectors. As CMD of Cochin Shipyard Limited, let me again warmly welcome you to this summit, this conclave, which we are extremely privileged and happy to co-host. We are here at a very important juncture. We are here when there is seemingly all-round positivity in whatever India is trying to do. As a country, I don't think we have ever had times when the youngsters of this country felt so proud. We feel this is the time when a country like India is standing up tall and in the Committee of Nations, probably it's for the first time that we are, let me use the word, we are reimagining ourselves as a country. This reimagining was long overdue, but now we have got the ambience to reimagine ourselves. The world has acknowledged that we are the fastest growing large economy in the world, and we are beating others by a mile. We are very clearly ambitious in our targets, and we have said it very clearly in World Fora that our ambitions are not just for us, our ambitions are for the world, our ambitions for the next generation. It's for the future of the world. We come from that depth of understanding which has guided us with Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. And for the first time, we are actually boldly standing and playing it out. Coming back to the economic developing indicators, the entire world is clear. India is clear, the entire world is clear. What are the figures we are talking? We are talking India at 100, Bharat at 2047. Figures have come in, but today when we are $4.3 trillion economy, our Niti Aayog figures project figures of $26 to $31 trillion economy by the time we are 2047. There are parallel figures floating of $35 trillion. And if you are guided by the IMF global high growth model, it could go all the way up to a $55 trillion US. But whichever way we look at it, we are definitely somewhere around a $30 trillion US 2047. Where is the world today? The world is today at around 110, 112 trillion US dollar. So we are today around 4% of the world from a large economic indicator point of view. Growth potential for the global GDP should take us to around 220, 230, 250-ish trillion dollars. Again, the IMF high growth model will take it to around a 400 to 500 trillion dollars. Again, whichever way you look at it, India should be 10 to 12% of global GDP by the time we are 2047. we would have regained our rightful position in the Committee of Nations. This was a country which was upwards of 20% of world GDP. This was the centerpiece of the world. And 2047, India's Amritkal, India 2047, I presume my generation would be extremely happy to watch this being handed over to the next generation. India at 100 would be leading light for the world. We would be, from an economic point of view alone, we would be the third largest economy in the world, that's for sure. In this ambience, 2047, the growth from now till 2047, when that path is laid out, we are talking about something which is the most important part here. We are talking about shipping. We're talking about ships. We're talking about trade. We are talking about logistics. We are talking about how the average Indian can be uplifted. 140 crore of our countrymen, 1/6 of the world. Despite all the growth, despite a $4.3 trillion economy, the per capita is only about $2,400 per year. And compare this with anywhere between $50,000 to $70,000 in the developed nations. We have miles to go again. So for that growth to happen, we need to cut waste. Efficiencies must be brought in. And various methods of efficiency, how we work, in each and every aspect of what we do, should be brought in. Looking at the overall picture, shipping and its allied systems play a very important role. The Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways, under the Government of India, under the guiding vision of the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, what have we done? The Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways. Long time back, it was the Ministry of Transport. Then it became the Ministry of Ports and Shipping. Then it became the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. And what has happened? The ports have gone through a remarkable transformation. Over the last 10 years, the transformation is here to see. We were talking about, we call it the major ports, the 12 major ports. We used to call it the minor ports, but today we call the non-major ports. So the major ports and the non-major ports today handle about 1,500 million metric tons of cargo and can grow at around 6.5% to 8%. Much positive projections could take you all the way up to 10%, but then we are sure short 2030, 2032, we should cross 2,200 to 3,000 million metric tons in our ports. Many of our ports have actually shed the historical baggage, and today our ports are amongst the best in the world. Many of our ports, and many people are not aware of this. The fact is, many of our ports have actually reached world standards and still raring to go. The port sector has been a revelation over the last 10 years, and that changes have happened. Come to the inland waterways. This was a country, and let us be very clear. Our inland waterways touches the hearts and lives of 40% of the Indian population. Across the Brahmaputra and the Gangetic plains live 40% of our fellow countrymen. This is a lifeline to the countries, to the states across the rivers and Nepal. And what have we done in our waterways? There's been transformation in our waterways. From roughly about 20 million tons about 10 years back, we are about 150 million tons now. So this transformation is for sure about from 2,500, 2,600 kilometers of waterways. We have transformed the waterways to about 4,800 kilometers of waterways. But much, much more to be done on the waterways. So the ports transformation is for real, and it is actually unfurling in front of us. The waterways transformation is actually happening. Now come to the next part, shipping. Can the third largest economy in the world be hostage to any a single large collapse. And we realized this. When the Houthis started firing at us, or when we had our gas and oil in Russia and we didn't have the ships to bring it home, then we really realized that this came knocking home, that you can't leave your gates open. This would be like that big house you build up and then you have all your gates open. We can't have the gates open. We have now very clearly realized, there was this realization for quite some time that the Indian Navy, that the men in white and the ships, the naval ships were strategic in nature. This has been known to us for decades now, and we have put our efforts over there. But merchant shipping as a strategic imperative, this has actually come home now. And we need to actually change the way we are handling our shipping. Today, last year, about $85 million has been India's shipping freight bill, out of which almost 90% has been paid to foreign shipping companies. This can't continue. Shipping has got its subsystems. Shipping has got subsystems which are at least the larger subsystem would be shipbuilding. And allied subsystems, there would be at least 50 of those subsystems. It would run into insurance, it would run into financing, arbitration, auxiliary supplies, various trade involvement, and seafaring, all combined together. This is a very, very large segment of what we are talking about. So shipping, unless we can handle and understand shipping in its true essence, today, Indian shipping is nothing to boast about. We are just about 1,500 ships, and we are practically the size of the shipping fleet which certain individuals own in the world. We are much lower than that. This situation cannot continue. So as a country, the country has today decided. The country has decided that we'll work on this as the government as a whole, the country as a whole. I always feel that we in these such conclaves, we always talk about what we expect from the government and what we want from the industry. These kind of discussions happen. But it's time that we actually start thinking about a country as a whole. The industry, government, we all work together and we realize our true potential. But the fact is that Indian shipping has to go miles from where we are today. Shipbuilding. We are what? We are 0.6% by records, maybe 0.5%. That's the kind of figure we are. 3 countries in the world, China, Korea, and Japan, is upwards of 90% of shipbuilding in the world. There are reasons for it, and there are historical reasons, there are compelling reasons for it. But let us be very clear. This is something which has to break. It cannot continue. It has to change because it's lopsided. It is unnatural. It is not in the nature of things to sustain things which are unnatural. It has to change. It will change by different methods. Either somebody will change it by force, by geopolitical or geoeconomic reasons, or things will change by natural reasons. And for a change, what we are seeing today, a country like India is actually today reaching out to 2 of these largest countries, to Korea and to Japan. And we are seeing synergistic relations here. And this is probably the way times have changed and times are emerging. India's demographics, India's youngsters, India's next generation is coming to the fore. We are good till 2070 on our demographics. But Japan and Korea with replacement rates of less than 0.8 will not be able to take it. And they would actually bet on a country like India with vibrant democracy, with vibrant systems, with sure-shot economic success, and proof of working together. For us today, a company like Suzuki is an Indian company. A company like Hyundai is an Indian company. A company like Samsung is an Indian company. This is the way Korea and Japan has got assimilated into our system, and they also know this. And for them, this is a country which can give them the depth and breadth, which can give them the growth into the future. It has got the markets for the future. And India combining with the powers of Korea, Japan, it could be win-win for the countries, both the countries, the next generation of the countries. And I am seeing that this is unfurling in front of us. So once we get moving, I think there are a lot of positives that's happening over here. But the narrative looks extraordinarily positive. But let us be cautious. While we see the narrative to be extraordinarily positive, to make it happen, there are things to be done on the ground. And things don't happen if we don't jump into 2047. To go to 2047, you need to cross 2030. You need to reach 2035. We need to plan. We need to move forward. I think discourses like this, discussions like this, I think we need to align our thought process. But before we align our thought process, I wanted to suggest to this August gathering here that let's bring in the belief. That belief is strong, and I talk right from the heart, because for me, the belief is very strong. India, with a 12% of the world GDP, why should we aspire to be less than 15% of the world shipbuilding market? Why should we even think of anything lower? There would have been reasons, or if something hasn't happened in the past. We are today the second largest automaker in the world. We are today the second largest steel maker in the world. Why can't we have a steel moment or an automobile moment for shipbuilding? Why can't we be amongst the leading shipping majors? And today, this reach out to Japan and Korea on the shipbuilding side, and to specific countries and companies like MSC, Maersk, Hapag-Lloyd, or NYK, all these big-time organizations across the world, with a friendly arm of come to India, let's work together, and let's try to build up all-round prosperity. I think that positivity can truly be leveraged, and we can actually take things forward. We in Cochin, I was just briefly referring, I feel in India, it's potentially today, as we stay today, it's Mumbai, Visakhapatnam, and Kochi, which has got a truly embedded maritime DNA. And it's only in the right things and in the right order that The Week, one of the most respected magazines, which has played its role in defining the narrative, because defining that narrative becomes very important. Because I always feel certain things, like you need to create the belief. You need to decide where you want to go, and then you strategize for that. So that the decision of where we have to go, creating that narrative, thanks to The Week and the Malayalam Manorama Group for organizing this conclave here. It's my proud privilege to participate in here. Once again, welcoming all of you, and hoping that there would be enriching discussions and great takeaways from this two-day conclave. The Honorable Minister, Sri Sarbananda Sonowal, will be here tomorrow, and on the behalf of Sri T.K. Ramachandran, Secretary of the Ministry of Port Shipping and Waterways, and on the behalf of the entire officials of the Ministry of Port Shipping and Waterways, let me again thank the organizers and again welcome the entire audience here. Thank you. Jai Hind.